Hey, it's Adam here, and today I'm going to have a look at Arturia's FX Collection 3. For the uninitiated, the FX Collection is a bundle of 26 really nice effects plugins with a mix of vintage hardware emulation and some brand new software stuff as well. Version 2 was already great, but we're going to look at what's new in version 3. So the whole collection benefits from a few things. There's some new user interface improvements for preset browsing. There's an A/B comparison option now, which is very useful. And down at the bottom here, we've got a quality option. So for the oversampling, you can go studio or render. So depending on whether you want to really push your CPU and get those really high quality sounds. But of course, the juicy stuff is the brand new plugins that are in the collection. We've got 4 in version 3. So first up is the Tube Culture, which is an emulation of a super popular Valve distortion and warmer unit. We've got Op Amp 12, which is another distortion and warmer, this time based on the classic SansAmp guitar pedal. We've got Mellow Fight tape, which is a tape emulation, some lovely preamp and tape warming stuff going on there, based on the Mellotron keyboard, originally invented in 1963. Incidentally, the Mellotron's also available in Arturia's instrument collection. And finally, a brand new effect called Fragment. This isn't based on any hardware, this is purely digital. It uses granular processing for a world of weird, glitchy, experimental sounds. So let's let the plugins speak for themselves and hear how they sound. We're going to start off with the Tube Culture. Just go into that selection there. So here's the interface. This is it in its basic mode. You've got drive, which is the amount of distortion. Bias, which is the amount of current going through the virtual tubes, which gives it a different flavor. You've got function, which is how the tubes operate. Really nicely in these plugins, you've got down the bottom here some tooltips, so it tells you all these things as you hover over them. We've got an output level and a mix. You can get a dry-wet balance here for parallel processing. If I flick it onto advanced mode at the top there, you'll see it changes. This center panel changes from a classic and a hardware VU meter into this digital display, which is really useful. And there's some more advanced controls down the bottom for things like stereo and filtering and some EQ stuff. Let's have a listen. I've got a drum loop here. Firstly, we'll do it just dry without the plugin. Then we'll put the Tube Culture on there. This is just a preset I've loaded up, which sounded nice with this. Gives it some really nice warming and distortion there. I was pushing it quite hard to make things obvious. You can get some lovely subtle Valve harmonics on there as well. I'll jump through a few more presets just so you can hear some of the range of sounds this thing can make. So yeah, you can use it on anything really. There's some real subtle sounds and some incredibly distorted stuff there. I'm using it on a drum mix there, but you can use it on pretty much anything. And I probably will be putting it on pretty much everything. Whole mixes, guitars, vocals. Gives it just a lovely harmonic warmth to everything. Let's move on to the Op Amp 12, which if you're a guitar player, you may be familiar with. This is based on the SansAmp, which is a kind of direct pedal. It's been around for a long time now, kind of before this new resurgence of guitar amp modeling pedals. But this is it in software form. It can do all the stuff that the hardware can do, plus a bit more, obviously. I've got actually some guitar here, which I'm going to place on. Let's bypass it for now. This is some guitar I recorded a while ago. So that's some guitar I recorded directly in. There's a little bit of reverb on there as well, just to make it sound a bit nicer on the ears. Let's unbypass this and have a little play around with the Op Amp 21. that's a preset I just loaded on. It's a kind of guitar fuzz kind of preset. You got your classic knobs here: drive, presence, high output, and then a dry wet. Now the dry wet wasn't on the original, but that's a really nice software feature to get some parallel processing going on. You have these switchable modes. There's a modern, which is new, and that's just a flat EQ. And then you have normal, lead, and bass, and these are supposed to kind of emulate different guitar amps. So you can play around with those, and we can try and see the difference. So yeah, pretty drastic differences in the EQ there. And again, it's giving you the tooltips down the bottom so you can see what's going on. And then you get all these different character buttons, which you can turn them on or off. They got these nice little icons, but it tells you what they're doing down the bottom. So there's brightness, boost the treble, vintage tube, which is more of a tube-like sound. Speaker edge simulates placing the mic at the edge of the speaker. So this is a perfect thing to just play around with and see what you can get. So this is the kind of classic mode, and you have the advanced button again, and it pops out this nice little thing on the bottom. So you can play around with filtering and EQ with this, get really in-depth there and really specific with the EQ graph. But it's not just for guitars. I've got that same drum loop as before, and in the presets there's loads of stuff there. So I'm going to do drum loop crusher on that same drum loop I played before. So again, some really subtle character or some big, distorted, messy effect sounds. Let's go on to Mellow Fight, which I think was a freebie they gave away. I certainly had it in my collection already, but it's really nice, based on the Mellotron keyboard. So it's basically this tape loop. Get some nice visuals with it too. Pretty simple controls. You just have a preamp and a tape section, and the preamp has drive, tone, and noise. And the tape is all the usual kind of tape sounding controls, so things like flutter, wow, wear, and mechanics, if you like that sort of thing. So yeah, that's fairly straightforward. It just sounds really nice. I've got this bass line, which I'm going to put it on. And you can also do tape stop effects with this, which is a thing I really like to play with. You can do it manually by just literally clicking and holding on the tape there, or you can tempo sync it to stop it at a bar or half a bar and things like that, which sounds a bit like this. Really like that effect. Next we have Fragments, which is the modern plugin, probably one of the weirder things. So it isn't based on any hardware. This is a brand new invention from Arturia. It can do lots of glitchy, strange things. It can do rhythmic effects, that kind of stuttering stuff. It can do shimmery ambient sounds. And it's kind of one of those plugins where you just feed anything you can think of into it and see what happens. So I've got that same bass loop again on this channel. Just activate this one. So that's just doing that at the moment. So turning that bass arpeggio into something completely different there. You've got 3 modes: classic, texture, and rhythm, which are very different in the way they work. You've got controls like intensity and effects there. And I'm just going to go through some presets here because they're all very different sounds. I'm just going to scan through while this loop's playing, and you can should be able to get an idea of the kind of stuff you can do with this. Yeah, some absolutely mad stuff in there. I recommend downloading that, giving it a try, seeing what you can feed in there, and just playing around with those. You can really get lost inside that plugin. So that's the new stuff for FX Collection 3. Check out the Arturia website for more information, and definitely read more on musicradar.com. And I'll see you next time.